In light of MLK's rejection of the fundamental tenets of Christianity, along with his simultaneous echoing of agitative rhetoric, which spoke of a struggle that he himself did not experience, it becomes clear that his entry into the ministry was a political move.
So here's the dilemma that we're faced with. Was Martin Luther King Jr. a Christian pastor? Was he a politician? Was he a black activist? Now, here's what we have to look at. Can someone be a Christian pastor and a politician? Those two, I would say they collide and they don't really agree, because being a politician, I mean, there's certain things that politicians have to do and say that Christians would see opposes what Jesus Christ teaches. Can someone be a Christian pastor and be a black activist? Just right there, when you say black activist, activist may be one thing, but when you say black activist, that is really saying that you are isolating, separating and isolating from, where Jesus Christ, his whole gospel was bringing people together, under one authority, God. So being, let's just say being an activist and a Christian pastor. Well, it depends. I guess it depends on what you really stand for. If you're standing for the gospel of Jesus Christ, whatever you do is, done a specific way to honor Jesus Christ. So that's what we're looking at here. I think that's the dilemma, because I've talked to people who didn't know that. First of all, they didn't know that MLK claimed to be a Christian. They didn't know that he was even a pastor. They saw him more so as either a politician or a black activist.
As a teen, he followed his father's lead, joining activist organizations himself.
As soon as I started moving through society and working here and there as a teenager, I came to see that if religion was to be relevant, these great ethical insights had to be transformed into some kind of meaningful social action. And it was at that time that I started working, even though I was still in high school and then later college, in youth organizations that were grappling with the problem of racial injustice.
He even competed in an oratory contest sponsored by the Black Elks chapter in Atlanta. He spoke of the black struggle.
Which is strange, because he himself didn't suffer any so-called black struggle. King had a very comfortable so-called upper middle class upbringing there in Atlanta, Georgia, even during the Great Depression. The same is true of his best friend and fellow activist, Ralph Abernathy.
I grew up on my father's farm, 500 acres, which he acquired in his lifetime. I knew nothing of the Depression other than what I read in books.
When you listen to the speech that won MLK the contest when he was 15 years old, it reads just like the rhetoric and propaganda that was being touted by the National Negro Congress and all the other communist front groups whose meetings MLK Sr. and Ralph Abernathy were attending at the time. In light of MLK's rejection of the fundamental tenets of Christianity, along with his simultaneous echoing of agitative rhetoric, which spoke of a struggle that he himself did not experience, it becomes clear that his entry into the ministry was a political move and not a genuine one.
He wanted to impact social culture, and as a result thought that the best way to do that for him would be through the lens of a pastor, minister, and in a pulpit.
Interestingly enough, I didn't start out with an interest to enter the ministry. At first, after finishing high school, I was interested in going into law.
It's clear from his college papers that he was, at the very least, being groomed to become a pastor who would help further the Marxist cause, even though initially King did not want to be a pastor.
King went to divinity school. He's doctor of divinity. He studied Marx, Niebuhr, Martin Buber. The black movement was very philosophical and very worldview oriented.
It's difficult to say when MLK was first tapped by Communist Party functionaries, but he was in fact contacted at some point.
So I went to Google and I asked, was Martin Luther King Jr. a Christian pastor, a politician, or a black activist? And it says that he was all three. It says, but mainly he was a Christian pastor and a black civil rights activist. To me, that doesn't really equate, because being a Christian, we don't base anything on the color of your skin. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said, judge a man by the content of a person by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Jesus Christ, his whole gospel was predicated upon seeing people as they are, as in the image of God, not by the color of their skin. Another thing it says here is, it says his beliefs, his faith, and the Christian social gospel were the driving forces behind the philosophy of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience. Christian social gospel, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't go together. There is nothing in the Bible that tells us that Jesus Christ preached on a social gospel, or the apostles, or any disciples. Christian social gospel, there is no such thing. There is either the Christian gospel, right? Jesus, the gospel of Jesus Christ, or the opposing factor, which is social gospel.